Hey folks, welcome back to another music collection video. Today I will be going through my fairly extensive collection of CDs by the band Him. Him are a Finnish metal band, rock/metal band. Their genre they officially described as love metal, which I guess makes sense when you understand a little bit about the band. They formed in the early 90s as His Infernal Majesty before going on a hiatus, and then reforming again in the mid to late 90s as Him, hence His Infernal Majesty. The band released their first album in 1997 and their last album in 2013, after which they disbanded in 2017. I personally listened to Him quite a lot in my teenage years, obviously. So around the time of 2006, sort of 2005, Dark Light, Venus Doom, that sort of thing, and I kind of stopped listening to them after 2010's Screamworks. They did only release one more album after that, but Ville Valo, the vocalist and frontman, I guess, of the band, since went on to release a solo album, which is pretty good, actually. So I have a lot of stuff for Him. I've gone all out with this collection. I've been collecting it recently. And the great thing about collecting CDs for Him is they have so many different versions and variants of their various albums, which makes collecting like kind of like an Easter egg hunt, you know? You've got to search deep and try and find stuff for reasonable prices, which can be super difficult. But I'm really, really happy with my collection. I don't think there's much more that I could do to improve it, which is a rarity. Anyway, enough blabbering. Let's start off with album number 1. So here we have album number 1, Greatest Love Songs 666. This originally released in 1997. This version that I have here is actually a kind of rare limited edition that includes a bonus track, Stigmata Diaboli. So Him released an EP before they released this album, and that one is almost impossible to find on CD. I think there were like maybe a few thousand copies, not much more than that. And Stigmata Diaboli, or Diaboli, not sure, was one of the tracks on that EP, so it's nice to get that on here. So this album is very different sounding, I would say, than the rest of Him's music. They definitely were going for more of a metal sound with the first album, and so it does mean that sometimes if you shuffle all of Him songs and then end up with a song from this album, it can seem a little bit disjointed to the rest of their discography. But if you listen to the album front to back, it's actually like really good. So start off with, we have Your Sweet 666, which is, you know, a very well-known song of theirs that's been re-recorded. Then we have Wicked Game, which is a cover, I think Chris Isaak originally. We have The Heartless, Our Diabolical Rapture, or Diabolical Rapture. It's All Tears, Drown in Its Love. When Love and Death Embrace, The Beginning of the End, Don't Fear the Reaper, which is a Blue Oyster Cult cover, and For You. And then, of course, we have the bonus track on this one. So of the tracks on this album, it was When Love and Death Embrace and Your Sweet 666, which really which went on to transcend beyond this first album. But it was a great first outing, if you ask me. Let's have a look at the booklet. Here we have the artwork of, I assume, Ville on the front. It does look a bit like him, but also a bit weird looking. He does feature as sort of like the main feature of a lot of the album artwork, but then that does change over time. So here we have the lyrics, so all the different lyrics. Not going to go through all of these. But also you can see who wrote the songs. So Lindstrom. I guess they don't have the lyrics for the cover songs. There you go. And then at the end they got Wicked Game and Don't Fear the Reaper, showing the original composers. Here on the back you have a picture of Ville Valo himself, and we have all the information. So we have all music arranged by Valo, Lindstrom, Parnanen, Rantala, Melesniemi. Sorry if I've butchered that. So it doesn't specify what each band member does, but hopefully we'll get some more info on that in later albums. So this album kind of gets overlooked a bit because it released before Him really blew up in, you know, places like America, for example. But it's definitely worth your time. It's not like an experimental release. I think it's a good indication of where they were trying to go, but that then changed with their following albums.
my darling, that the harder I try, the more.
Okay, now we're on to album number 2, which is Razorblade Romance from the year 2000. Now, this album is an interesting one because it has a bazillion different versions for multiple different reasons. The album that released originally, this is like the limited edition from Finland, I think, or Germany maybe, has this following track list on here. So it starts with I Love You, Prelude to Tragedy. You've got Poison Girl, Join Me in Death, Right Here in My Arms, Gone with the Sin, Razorblade Kiss, Bury Me Deep Inside Your Heart, Heaven Tonight, Death is in Love with Us, Resurrection, One Last Time, and then also the bonus tracks of Sigillum Diaboli, which is actually a sort of like redone version of Stigmata Diaboli from the first album, and then the Ninth Circle OLT, which I think stands for One Last Time. When the album went into the UK and things like that, they redid the track listing and re-recorded a couple of songs. So here I have a different version that released after this. This is a limited edition with a bonus live CD. And you'll see that the track listing on CD1 is completely different. For starters, you have Your Sweet 666 as track number 1, which, if you recall, was the first track from the first album. So this is actually a re-recorded version of that song. Then it goes into Poison Girl, Join Me in Death, Right Here in My Arms, Bury Me Deep Inside Your Heart, and then Wicked Game. Again, a song from the first album, re-recorded for this one. Then we have I Love You down here, number 7, so number 1. Gone with the Sin, Razorblade Kiss, Resurrection, Death is in Love with Us, and Heaven Tonight, and No One Last Time, which is a shame because it's one of my favourite songs on the album. So it's a really weird choice what they did. I guess they were just trying to make the best impression in each of the territories, but then it kind of messes up what the album is trying to do. In the US, there's even a version where Him released the album under the name Her because Him was already taken before they could figure out the whole copyright. If you ask me, if you want the original experience of Razorblade Romance, then you kind of want this version, or any of the original versions basically, the ones that start with I Love You and don't contain the Wicked Game and 666 re-recording. This, like I said, is the limited edition with 2 unreleased bonus tracks. When I bought this, I first of all didn't realize how scratched it was. I mean, if you look at this disc, it's absolutely destroyed. So maybe it lived in someone's car or something. But the other thing as well is you will see at the top it says some words in German underneath the Supersonic logo. And what that says is that it's a copy protected CD that won't work in a PC, which I didn't realize. And I actually ripped my CDs, so this is a huge bummer because I essentially bought a CD that I couldn't make any use of. It turns out that Razorblade Romance had a number of versions that were copy protected, and then they re-released versions where they weren't, but I happened to get a copy protected one, so kind of sucks. But anyway, the album itself, in terms of the music, is usually considered to be one of their best, and it's got some real classic Him songs on here, the ones that really sort of like put them on the map. So things like Poison Girl, Join Me in Death, Right Here in My Arms, Gone with the Sin. I mean, you can't go wrong. The only thing I will say about this album, for me personally, certainly with this track listing, is that it's very top heavy. You know, I would say the first 6 to 7 songs are like amazing, they're brilliant. And then from here on, it gets a little bit slowed down. Though I would say I really like Heaven Tonight and One Last Time, so not quite as top heavy as one other album on this list, which we will get to later. Anyway, that is that version, and then this version over here, as I said, is a limited edition which includes 6 live tracks, which I did not know existed. Here we have CD1, and then obviously on the back is CD2, which contains 6 live tracks. Right Here in My Arms, Your Sweet 666, Poison Girl, Death is in Love with Us, Wicked Game, and Join Me. So I find it quite interesting that they have Join Me here and Join Me in Death there. There is a theme with Him albums where they don't seem to decide what their own songs are called. Anyway, the live album's pretty cool. It seems like, obviously, it's quite an old recording because this CD came out in the year 2000, so it's interesting to see what they sounded like back in the day. So anyway, let's have a look through the booklet. I like that this is actually like on the booklet itself. Here we have all the lyrics all kind of mashed together, which doesn't make for a very good listening experience. There's no mention of the band members in this one, which is a shame. Obviously we have a picture of them all there, but other than Valo in the middle, I'm not sure who is who. So there we go, that's Razorblade Romance, album number 2 from the year 2000.
Love is insane, and baby, we are two. Our hearts little grave and the salt in our wounds.
Now on to possibly my favourite him album. I do go between this and another one, and it is Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights. This album is an absolute gem, honestly. It's got some of the best hymn songs, but also just some incredible songs in general. And this version as well is the Digipack version, if I can pull that open, which includes a couple of bonus tracks sprinkled in. So if we go through the track listing, we have Salt in Our Wounds, Heartache Every Moment, Lose You Tonight, Enjoy in Sorrow, Pretending, Close to the Flame, You Are the One, a bonus track, Please Don't Let It Go, Beautiful, In Love and Lonely, bonus track, Don't Close Your Heart, Love You Like I Do, and then there's also a multimedia part, which I think is like a video or something. So Love You Like I Do might be one of my favorite songs of all time. It is so gosh darn beautiful, and Phil's voice is so low in this song, like so low. It's the lowest I think he registers across all of the albums. And that's one of the things with Vil, is what he's known for, is having such a crazy range when it comes to his voice. He can go really, really low and really, really high. And Love You Like I Do is just super low from start to finish, but it just sounds so like sorrowful, mournful, longing. It's such a good song.
No one will love you. No one will love you the way I do.
Then when we talk about the other ones, I mean, you've got Enjoy in Sorrow and Pretending, some of the biggest singles that this band ever put out. Close to the Flame, which is such a beautiful, quiet song. And then, you know, things like Beautiful and stuff like that. It's a great album, but I will say, and I'll put it on record now, that I think the bonus tracks stuck in the middle like this kind of ruin it. Now, I have mentioned this before on the Trivium CD collection video where I talked about the In Waves album that had bonus tracks sprinkled among the regular track list. I often find that an album is designed to be listened to in a specific order. At the very least, there's supposed to be a specific start and end, like that kind of goes without saying. But how songs feed into each other is very important, in my opinion. And you don't want to have a bonus track that's of a lesser quality than the main album kind of ruining momentum. I think You Are the One is actually a relatively decent track, so I don't have too much of an issue with that one, but In Love and Lonely, it sounds like a bonus track, you know, it sounds like a B-side. It's not bad, but it's nowhere near the quality of the rest of the album, and so I almost always find myself skipping them when I listen to the album from start to finish. It's a shame because I love me some bonus tracks, but if they were at the end, it would not be a problem, but sprinkling them in the middle, personally, kind of bothers me. Let me know what you think about that down below. I'd be super interested if that's just a me thing. That's not to say that I would prefer the one without bonus tracks, because I like bonus tracks. Anyway, moving up to the inside, we have this super lovely bright CD. So that's what I love about this one. I mean, it's called Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights. They certainly bring both of those. Then the booklet inside, kind of weird. Got this car, and then you've got a picture of the band. Super cool, and we have the lyrics. These are handwritten by Vil, because I recognize it's scratchy handwriting, so pretty cool to get the lyrics in his own handwriting. Makes it more interesting. I don't know why they don't say who's in the band. Anyway, that's Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights, a superb album, and if you're wanting to get into him, for the, you know, you don't know where to start, I would probably start with this one.
There was a time when I could breathe my life into you one by one, your pale...
Time to pivot, and so early in the video. This is the single collection, which was released in 2002, and this is a super cool collection piece. This has all of the singles released for the first 3 albums. It's really, really awesome owning this. The singles have a lot of different versions depending on like the country and stuff. So you'll have some singles will have some bonus tracks, some of them will have like acoustic or live tracks, and this basically combines them all. So each of the singles is like the definitive version that contains everything that was on any different version of the single in one place, and it's a really, really cool package. So if we open this one up, inside we have cardboard cases for each of them, which is probably better than jewel cases because that would take up so much space. So starting off, we have It's All Tears, Drown in This Love. So this is a single from the first album. You can see there it shows Greatest Love Songs, volume 666. I'm not sure of the years that these original singles were released, but because these are like, you know, new versions, they're all technically 2002 releases. And on this one, we have It's All Tears, Drown in This Love, and the Heartless Club remix. Okay, next up we have Wicked Game and a Nipple. This is obviously from Greatest Love Songs, volume 666, so the first album again. And on this one, we have Wicked Game, and we also have For You and Our Diabolical Rapture, as well as the 666 remix of Wicked Game, which is but just like a heavier version of Wicked Game. It's pretty cool. It's a shame this single is basically just with got tracks from the main album. It's basically an EP. Next we have When Love and Death Embrace. I didn't really talk about this one when we were looking at Greatest Love Songs volume 66, but this I think is my favorite track on that album. It's just absolutely beautiful. Bit of a weird single though, because on this one we have the radio edit of the track, we have the AOR radio mix, whatever that means. I think when I've listened to these, I couldn't really tell much of a difference. We have the original single edit and then the album full-length version here. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to have all the different versions of the track, I guess, but generally I will always go for the longer version. Next we have Join Me, or Join Me in Death, because who knows what it's called, because not even they know. On this single we have Join Me. We also have It's All Tears Unplugged live at Radio Extreme Finland 1997, and this is actually incredible. Definitely listen to this. We have Rebel Yell, so a Billy Idol cover played live, as well as Dark Secret Love, which was actually a track from their original EP, which was called like 666 Ways to Love or something like that. Here we have Right Here in My Arms, limited 4-track edition, really cool. On this one, we have Right Here in My Arms, the radio edit, Join Me in Death, the Razorblade mix. We have the Heartless Space Jazz Dubmen mix, and then we have a completely unique bonus track called I've Crossed Oceans of Wine to Find You, which is a really weird listen. It's not really a metal song at all. It's pretty cool though, you should give it a listen. Right, moving on, we have Poison Girl, limited edition including 3 live tracks. So this again from Razorblade Romance. We have Poison Girl, Right Here in My Arms live, It's All Tears live, and Poison Girl live. So live tracks recorded in Berlin on the 29th of February 2000, so that's pretty cool. Next we have Gone with the Sin, one of my favorite tracks from Razorblade Romance. And on this single we have the radio edit of Gone with the Sin with the OD version, which is just an alternate version of the song. It's pretty interesting. We have an acoustic version of For You, which sounds really good. Bury Me Deep Inside Your Heart live, and Gone with the Sin from the album. Anyway, nearly done. We have Pretending from Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights. So we have Pretending, the alternate mix of Pretending, which to my ears I can't tell a huge difference, but there is like a 15-second difference, so not sure. We have the Cosmic Pope Jam version of Pretending, which is 8 minutes long, which is pretty wild. We have the acoustic version of Please Don't Let It Go and Loose You Tonight caravan version. I think this is meant to be Lose You Tonight, and that's a typo because that doesn't make any sense. Then we have Enjoy and Sorrow, also from Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights. And on this one, we have the radio edit of the title track. We have a bonus B-side, Again. Now, Again's a pretty cool track. There is an alternate version of Again on a different CD later on, which I think sounds better than this one personally, but it's still cool to have a B-side for once. We have Enjoy in Sorrow string version, which is very, very nice. The Tulsa Doom version of Salt in Our Wounds, and the Third Seal Beautiful, and I'm not entirely sure what the difference is. Then finally we have Heartache Every Moment and Close to the Flame, so they combined these two into a single. And so this has got quite a few tracks on it. So we have Heartache Every Moment and Close to the Flame, obviously being the title tracks. We have the acoustic version of Salt in Our Wounds, the acoustic version of Enjoy in Sorrow, acoustic of Pretending, acoustic of Heartache Every Moment, and acoustic of Close to the Flame. So really cool to have all these different acoustic versions. So yeah, someone that likes to collect physical media purely because of streaming services taking away interesting parts of bands' discographies. Something like the single collection is just an absolutely incredible goldmine of bonus tracks and different variants and things like that. This is the kind of stuff that I absolutely love.
Buried alive by love. If I should die before I wake, bring no one my soul to take.
Moving on to album number 4, and we have Love Metal from 2003. Now this one is taped up. It's not the best condition version of the album, but this Love Metal is a great album. A lot of people have Love Metal as their favorite out of all of the albums, and it's definitely up there for me, but still not quite. It's my number 1, but I think if I were to sit down and listen to one from start to finish with no skips, it would probably be Love Metal. So if we look at the back, this is a limited edition digipack version which has 1 bonus track. So the track listing separated by A, B, and C for some reason. We have Buried Alive by Love, which is just such an explosive opening track. We have The Funeral of Hearts, Beyond Redemption, Sweet Pandemonium, and Soul on Fire, followed by The Sacrament, This Fortress of Tears, Circle of Fear, Endless Dark, and The Path, followed by Love's Requiem as a bonus track. Now The Path is such a beautiful closer. There's one thing that I really love about Him albums is they really know how to pick their closer. I think every single closing track on all of their albums is impeccable, and it's usually the best track on the album, or certainly my favorite track on the album. I guess Don't Fear the Reaper on the Greatest Love Songs album isn't necessarily the best track on that album, but it's kind of like a palate cleanser after how heavy the previous songs were. Love's Requiem is also a beautiful bonus track. It's like 8 minutes long. It's really long, but it's such a good sound, and it suits the album perfectly because it's like The Path feels like a solid ending to the album, and then Love's Requiem, it feels like an encore in the best way. So I think in terms of overall package, these 11 tracks here are absolute bangers. Okay, let's have a look inside. I'm actually missing some teeth on this one, so I have to be quite delicate with it, but you see you've got, I guess that's lyrics. Then there's a booklet in here, and it looks like it might even be a poster. I have looked at this once, but I don't remember it being a poster. This is really interesting. So this is one side, so you've got all of the band members, followed by the track names down here. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Oh, the lyrics are there. Oh, look, with the light shined on them, you can actually see the lyrics. Huh. That's really neat, but again, how are you supposed to read that? And then on the flip side, we actually have a poster of the band doing their thing. Looking pretty cool. So yeah, that's Love Metal. Definitely one of their most solid outings, if you ask me. And yeah, a very good place to start, if not Deep Shadows. Our next thing to show is actually a compilation album. This is And Love Said No, 1997 to 2004. And this essentially is a compilation album from the first 4 albums. There's a bit of a break, if you ask me, in Hym's discography, and it's at this point. So everything after this has quite a different sound, if you ask me, compared to some of the earlier stuff. It's still Hym, don't get me wrong, but it becomes less focused around Vil Vallo himself, I think, and more focused on the band and the music. So there is a big difference, and I think it was a good idea to release this compilation at this time. Anyway, this is a really cool version. It's a UK specific version that says here, includes 2 brand new tracks and 2 re-recordings of When Love and Death Embrace, and exclusive to UK, It's All Tears, plus live bonus DVD. Now, to clarify on this, it doesn't actually have a re-recording of When Love and Death Embrace, it just has a remaster of it, but hey ho. This album was released in multiple different variants in different territories, but this one I think is the coolest one. It opens up in the middle, like this, so we can take Ville's face, put that over there. On here you can see we have the first 2 albums, so Greatest Love Songs and Razorblade Romance over here, and on the other side you have Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights and Love Metal. Then if we pull out the contents, we actually have these 2 slip cases. So if we turn them over, you'll see it's the artwork from the first 4 albums, which is pretty cool. And we'll have a look at those in a minute. And there's also a poster here. Hide your wives and girlfriends. Here is shirtless Ville Valo for your viewing pleasure. And then here is the band all together, looking really cool. And Love Said No, plus the list of tracks. So inside these, they have another slipcase. So here is the CD. So you see it's in a second blue slipcase. Where's it open? From the top. And that's what the CD looks like. And then in this one, we have the DVD, which contains some live tracks. So going through the track list, what I like about this one is it's not just a compilation, there's also some new tracks. So starting off with the title track, And Love Said No, which is actually an incredible hymn song. Really love this one, and really cool to have something to like kick off this compilation. Then of course they go into some of the greatest hits, I guess. So we have Join Me, Razorblade mix, like I was saying earlier, different mix of the song, Buried Alive by Love, Heartache Every Moment. Then we come on to the second new song for this compilation, and it's Solitary Man, which is a Neil Diamond cover. Pretty good cover, not my favorite, but pretty decent. Then we move on, we have Right Here in My Arms, Funeral of Hearts, Enjoy and Sorrow, Your Sweet 666, and this is the re-recorded version, of course. Gone with the Sin, Wicked Game, also the re-recorded version. We have The Sacrament, Close to the Flame, It's All Tears, Drown This Love, which is a re-recorded version that's exclusive to the UK version of this compilation, which is really good. And we have Poison Girl, the album version of Pretending, don't know why they specify the album version there. And then When Love and Death Embrace, which is a remaster, not a re-recording. Then on the DVD, we have Soul on Fire, The Funeral of Hearts, Beyond Redemption, Sweet Pandemonium, Buried Alive by Love, and The Sacrament. So all tracks from Love Metal, the most recent album released at this time. I haven't actually watched the DVD yet. I should probably get around to that. So that's the compilation album, And Love Said No. I'm not normally a compilation kind of guy, but when the compilations include bonus tracks, I have to buy them, which is probably why they do them. They're specifically targeting me.
The venomous kiss you gave me, I'm killing loneliness.
Now we get on to some interesting parts of my collection. We have Dark Light from 2005. This, you will notice, is a book and not a CD. It's a cool special edition of Dark Light that contains all of the tracks from the main album, as well as a bonus track, The Cage, which is really cool. I picked this up for like £7. It was really good. Anyway, this album is quite interesting. It's relatively controversial, I think, in the hymn fandom, because some people love it and it was actually their gateway into him. I think my wife first started listening to them through Dark Light. But when you listen to it in the context of the rest of their discography, it's probably one of their weakest outings in terms of the sound. Like, I personally am not a massive fan of the mix on this album. It just sounds a bit more like, I don't know, not tinny, but kind of like crunchy than the previous ones. Does that make any sense? I don't know, maybe you'll disagree. But you can't deny the absolute staying power of some of the tracks on this album. So starting off with Vampire Heart, which is an absolute killer opening. We have Rip Out the Wings of a Butterfly, one of their most popular songs. Under the Rose and Killing Loneliness, which is just an absolute, mainstay. Dark Light, the title track, Behind the Crimson Door, The Face of God, which I really like, Drunk on Shadows, Play Dead, and In the Night Side of Eden, which is an excellent closer. Plus, as I mentioned, we have The Cage as a bonus track, which up until I started collecting these CDs, I hadn't actually ever heard The Cage, so it's pretty cool to get this. So this book version is pretty neat if we open it up. First thing we get inside is an advert for some hymn ringtones, so you know who to text if you want some ringtones. I don't actually know what country this is for. Is it the US? No idea. It says made in the USA, so maybe. Then in here we have some sort of blueprints for the well, it's the building, the skyscraper in the water, whatever the symbolism of that is. You can see it says Hymn Dark Light, and inside we have some more of Ville's lyric handwriting. So it's cool that he kept this up. It's just a nice added touch, you know. It's almost like you can see what he was scratching down as they were pulling the album together. It's a pretty cool imagery of some dark waves. Here's a picture of the band all together. I think it has mostly been the same members. Because the albums aren't telling me who the members are between albums, I can't comment on that, sadly. And then that's the end of the book. And on the other side, we have the disc itself. Anyway, we're not done with Dark Light, because now we have one of the most ridiculous CD purchases I've ever made. And it is this guy. It is the Internet Heartogram Limited Edition, I think is what they call it. And basically, this was limited to 20,000. And it's a tin of the album, as you can see. That's what it is on the front and the back. But it's not just a CD, it's like a collector's piece. I was able to get this for a very reasonable price, and I'm very, very happy with it. So we'll come back to this in just a moment. First thing we have on the inside is the Certificate of Authenticity. It's this nice embossed paper. It says, this certificate verifies this is an authentic hymn special edition of the album Dark Light. This edition has been limited to a quantity of 20,000 and will not be produced in any other editions in the future. And I have 18,180 out of 20,000 and what looks to be actual signatures from the band, which is really neat. Underneath that, we have the booklet, which I guess is probably, yeah, it's fairly similar to the other booklet. But we've also got, oh, there we go, we've got some hymn tattoos, some heartogram tattoos on various individuals, mostly women, I will say. And one of the main reasons that I really wanted this version is because it comes with an additional bonus track, which is Venus in Our Blood, which, again, I had never heard of this track until I was looking into collecting. And this is one of the best tracks on the album, not gonna lie. So it's funny that it's a bonus track. As I was saying with Deep Shadows and Brilliant Highlights, sometimes bonus tracks are quite clearly a step down from the quality of the main album, but these two I would say are definitely on par with the rest of the album, which is really lovely to see. And we have the advert for the hymn ringtones, and finally underneath we have the actual disc, which is this really cool disc with some of the lyrics written on it, so really nice to have something unique. The cool thing in the pouch then is, ta-da, we have a hymn laser pointer. There we go, it's a heartogram. It's pretty cool. So that's, yeah, that's really cool to have this edition of the album. So I've got two pretty sweet versions of Dark Light. Interestingly, I don't have any actual jewel cases with Dark Light in, which is kind of weird. Finally, before we move on, I do also have the jewel case single for Wings of a Butterfly. The reason I have this one is because it does include the aforementioned Poison Heart Ramones cover, which is a pretty cool cover. It's probably my least favorite of the bonus tracks that you can get, the B-sides. But yeah, I had to get it in some shape or form. Alright, so now we've got a couple of interesting ones. You know, I said I love compilation albums. Well, that's what we have here. We have Uneasy Listening Volume 1 and Volume 2. These were released in 2006 and 2007 respectively, and what's kind of cool about these is that they contain a bunch of the bonus variants and stuff like that from singles and whatnot that are kind of hard to come by. So we have a look at the back of Volume 1. You see we've got like the acoustic version of Funeral Hearts, which was on one of the singles, I think the Close to the Flame single. Got the It's All Tears Unplugged from one of the earlier singles. So a lot of the songs on Volume 1 are actually the same as the ones that were released in the single collection, but it's cool to have them all in one place, and there's still some songs which are unique to the singles. So I'm not going to go through all of these in detail. I will say that some of them are cool and some of them are actually uneasy listening, not gonna lie. I kind of respect the fact that they called it uneasy listening, because I know it's meant to be like a parody of easy listening, but some of these are actually quite hard to listen to. They kind of get lost in the source and go off a little bit, and they do kind of extend a bit, you know, more than they need to. But it's a pretty cool little collection, and I like that we've got the blue and red contrast here. So we've got the red insert in the jewel case for the blue cover and blue disc. So have a quick look at the booklet. So you've got that lady on the front. I think it was re-released with different artwork, maybe in like a cardboard slipcase or something, but I made sure to get this one because it matches volume 2. I mean, volume 2 is like the inverse of volume 1. There's a lot less, you know, string versions and acoustic versions, and a lot more sort of like heavy and live stuff. So we've got like the 616 versions of Buried Alive by Love and Endless Dark, which are just heavier versions, basically heavier alternate versions. Then we have lots of live stuff. We have Right Here in My Arms, we have Sailing On and Hand of Doom, which are covers, so it's pretty cool to get them on here. And then we have the Hollow Vlad Tepes version of Again, which was one of those B-sides from the Deep Shadows era, and I actually prefer this version to the original, to be honest. Yeah, but just quickly open it up. You see you've got the red disc with the blue jewel case insert, and then we have the lyrics in a blue color. So it's pretty cool. I like them as a package. I think they're pretty neat. There is a volume 1 and 2 sort of like deluxe digipack type thing, which contains both volume 1 and 2 together, but it's more expensive and I didn't get it.
Serpentine love stars wrap around me. You search for death.
Next is my personal favorite hymn album, and it is Venus Doom. Now this might be a hot take maybe, but when I started listening to him, Venus Doom was fresh, hot off the press. It came out in like 2007, and it was one of the coolest things I'd ever heard. It's a much heavier album than their previous albums. The guitar tone is completely different, although I'd say Dark Light is kind of close on that, but it is definitely heavier. And Phil's voice in this album is so deep compared to the rest of their discography. This is sort of like the deepest that he went throughout the entire listing of the album. The other thing that I really love about Venus Doom is it doesn't overstay its welcome. It has 9 tracks and they're all incredible. You know, no notes, no skips. This is the one that if I wanted to listen to a hymn album, I would listen to this one all the way through, start to finish. So have a quick look through the booklet. This is a limited edition which contains a bonus CD, which is pretty cool. So here we've got the handwritten lyrics by Vil as per usual. There's a picture of the band, and I also have the stickers that were cut off of the original packaging. We've got some more lyrics, pretty cool. And this edition of the album also includes a bonus disc which has Love in Cold Blood Special K remix, which is super awesome. And then the Special C remix, Special C616 or whatever, of Dead Lovers Lane, which is also pretty cool. Although a bit weird that they decided to go for a whole ass CD just for those 2 tracks, but you know, it is what it is. But we're not done with Venus Doom just yet. This is something that I have wanted since I knew it existed, and it is super, super awesome. It's the big book edition of Venus Doom. I think this was like a US exclusive thing, but it is so cool. It's this massive textured book. So it looks like it's banged up, but it's actually not. Like it is meant to look like this. And it's just such a lovely piece of memorabilia to have this to commemorate Venus Doom being my favorite hymn album. In the book, it's quite a lot more than in the other version. There's so many pictures. We've got all the lyrics here, so that's the lyrics for Venus Doom. The opening track. There's some more pictures. Poor cat. I don't know what the cat did to deserve such treatment. There we go. We have Love in Cold Blood. Great song. Some scribbles. Just some loads of stuff. I'm not going to go through all of this. There's the larger picture of the band. but it's just such a cool collector's item. I was so happy to be able to get this, and funnily enough, I actually got this from the same person that I got the Darklight Collector's Edition from, so, you know, that guy had good taste. On the back is this sort of envelope looking thing, and originally it had this seal on it. You see, made by Moldstein, whatever. I guess it was just stuck on, probably like that, and that's obviously been removed. And inside we have a few things. So first of all, we have some Polaroids. There's a picture of the band. I mean, not really much to write home about. A bit weird. Interesting choice. And then we have the 2 discs. So this here is just disc 1 of Venus Doom. No difference to any other version of the album. And then this is similar to the disc 2 from the other special edition, but it actually has an extra track. So we also have a Bleed Well acoustic version. And I believe this is the only way to get that version of Bleed Well. So pretty cool. I do like when they do like special unique tracks that you can only get in these versions. It just makes it like, you know, more substantial, you know? It's more of a collector's item if it's the only way to get that track. Anyway, really cool. Love the presentation in this overall. Finally, almost done, is the Kiss of Dawn single. I have this because it includes the Passions Killing Floor Happy remix, which is a pretty cool remix, kind of like 8-bit sounding, or more like chiptune, I guess, than 8-bit. So it's a pretty cool little addition. There are more singles, I think, that were released for Venus Doom, but nothing that really caught my eye, so I just went for this one.
We are like the living dead, sacrificing all we have for a frozen heart and a soul on fire!
Alright, now we have a live album. So the only complete live album that him released. This is Digital Versatile Doom with a massive scratch in it. Great, hope that wasn't me. Here's a crow on the microphone. This is a CD and DVD pack. And this was everything from Venus Doom down, pretty much. So we have Passions Killing Floor, Rip Out the Wings of a Butterfly, Buried Alive by Love, Wicked Game, The Kiss of Dawn, Vampire Heart, Poison Girl, Dead Lover's Lane, Join Me in Death, It's All Tears, Sleepwalking Past Hope, Killing Loneliness, Soul on Fire, Your Sweet 666, Bleed Well, and The Funeral of Hearts. So a very long set, 16 tracks. So that's on the CD, and then on the DVD, it's all of those, but also we've got an introduction, we've got some interviews and outros and stuff like that. So it's just a really cool collector's album. Kind of reminds me of Roundhouse Tapes from Opeth. Very similar to that. And then here we have the booklet. So you got imagery of Vil there having a smoke. Got someone playing guitar. Got, what's that? Piano, keyboards. Bassist. Okay, pretty cool. And we have the drummer. It's pretty cool. I do like a live album. Probably more so than I like live bonus tracks. You know, I'd rather have a live album be a live album and a regular album be a regular album. But that's why packages like this are really cool. I think I had seen this years and years and years ago, but I haven't seen it recently, so I will watch it again.
No fear, there are wounds that are not meant to heal when they sing.
Starting to lose my voice, which is ironic because the next album is Screamworks, Love in Theory and Practice, chapters 1 to 13. It's called chapters 1 to 13, but they didn't release any other chapters. Anyway, this is the 2010 penultimate album by His Infernal Majesty. They released only one more album after this one, and this one is very controversial, I guess you could say. I really liked this one when it came out, and I kind of like it now, but I don't know. It's just, it doesn't really feel like a him album. Is that a hot take? That might be a hot take. It is still good, and you've got some great tracks on here, so let's go through the track list. So we have In Venera Veritas, Scared to Death, Heart Killer, Dying Song, Disarm Me With Your Loneliness, Love the Hardest Way, Catherine Wheel, In the Arms of Rain, Ode to Solitude, Shatter Me With Hope, Acoustic Funeral for Love in Limbo, Like Saint Valentine, and The Foreboding Sense of Impending Happiness. And I do really like the closing track. Again, they always choose great closers. So this is a pretty cool version of the album. So you see you've got these waveforms on the inside. and you have disc 1, which is Screenworks, and then disc 2 is known as Baudelaire in Braille, and basically it contains the exact same track listing as disc 1, but all acoustic re-recordings, which is really cool. So it's Screenworks and then Screenworks in what they say in Braille, but it's acoustic. So it's a pretty nice touch. It's really cool to have that. Then in here we have the booklet. Not an awful lot to say here. See, they definitely focus on sort of like the waveforms. I guess that's like the sound of the album, maybe, I don't know. But you got each of the songs. There's Vil there with the heartogram, and there's the rest of the tracks. My understanding is that I think Vil himself likes this album quite a lot, and he says it was like one of his more personal albums. And when we get to his solo album, which I am going to include in this video, you can tell that that was kind of like what he was personally feeling. It feels like more of a him effort than ever before. Him as in Vil, not the band Him. Probably this is my least favorite Him album. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Before we move away from Screenworks, they did release this remix album as well. So this came out in the same year as Screenworks. It came out in December, so towards the end of the year, and it's SWRMXS, so Screenworks remixes. If you look on the back, we have remixes of In Venena Veritas, In the Arms of Rain, The Foreboding Sense of Impending Happiness, Ode to Solitude, Heart Killer, Love the Hardest Way, Shadow Me with Hope, Dying Song, Disarm Me with Loneliness, Scared to Death, and Acoustic Funeral, / like St. Valentine's / Catherine Wheels. It's sort of like a mixture. Some of these are really cool. I like the Foreboding Sense of Impending Happiness remix. I think that one's great. Also the Heart Killer one. But some of them are a bit weird and don't really represent the original track in any way, shape or form. But as I have said multiple times, I just really like bands experimenting with their work and doing something different, so I am all for this. Obviously these aren't all Him remixes. There's one Disarm Me with Loneliness is a Vil Valo remix, but the rest of them are by other people. So it's a pretty cool added thing to the collection. Yeah, wouldn't recommend this as your first Him album though.
Strange world, people talking, telling lies.
We can quickly brush over this one. There was another compilation album released in, I want to say 2012? Yeah, 2012, and it is Him XX 2 Decades of Love Metal, including the new song Strange World. So that's the reason I picked it up, is it has Strange World, which is a cover song, and it's the only place you can get that song. Other than that, I'm not going to read through the track list. It's just the usual greatest hits, but interestingly a lot of radio edits, which is kind of interesting. So like the radio edit of the Kiss of Dawn like takes out all the good stuff. So it's a bit of a weird one. I actually picked this one up without a booklet, so I had to print off the cover, but the things you do to save a few quid, eh? So what the CD looks like. Nothing too exciting to talk about with this one. It was definitely just like, felt like they just had to fill a quota or something. But the Strange World track is, yeah, it's okay. It's probably their weakest release.
I kiss the void and crawl straight into its heart. Disowning all
Now for the final Him album, we have Tears on Tape from 2013. So the band actually broke up in 2017, so 4 years after this one. And I think it was probably the right time to break up. I don't think this is a bad album, but honestly, day to day, I go between this one as Screenworks to try and decide which one is my least favorite Him album. Neither of them are great. Compared to the rest of their discography, these are definitely their weakest albums. What's interesting about Tears on Tape is there's actually a bunch of instrumental songs, so just sort of like interludes basically, which is really weird. Like Unleash the Red, for example, is like an introduction which they've never done before. Then we have Trapped in Autumn, as well as Lucifer's Chorale, I don't know how to pronounce that, and then Kiss the Void. So 4 instrumental tracks on a 13-track album. So you get 9 tracks, which is fine because, you know, like Venus Doom is 9 tracks. But yeah, a bit weird. And some of these songs are good. I like I Will Be the End of You and Into the Night. I also very much like WLSTD, which stands for When Love Starts to Die. Those are really great tracks. When Love Starts to Die is kind of like a Venus Doom sounding track, so I think that's really cool. But yeah, the rest of it, I like some of the concepts, but as full songs, they just don't really sound very hymn-like in some respects. It probably sounds more hymn-like than Screamworks, but there's just something missing, I don't know. Anyway, this is a special edition of the album, which is dusty. On the inside, got some weird patterns, and you have both the album itself and also a bonus DVD, which contains a bunch of live recordings of old songs. So we have Buried Alive by Love, Wings of a Butterfly, Heart Killer, Join Me, The Kiss of Dawn, Funeral Hearts, and When Love and Death Embrace. Pretty cool showing in this. I thought that DVD was really cool. And then in here we have the booklet. Here we've got some weird looking imagery. It's kind of a glossy booklet, which is a bit weird. Not even any lyrics. So yeah, bit of a weird one. So yeah, like I said, it's not a bad album. It's in the running for being my least favorite for sure. But I think definitely what this did indicate was that it was time for something different. And so I'm glad that the band decided to, break it off on good terms a few years later. Like, it wasn't like a messy breakup or whatever. They decided it was time to end, and they did a farewell tour, and it was really good. So fair play to them. They ended their career at the right time as a band, but not as individuals.
Come love me till it hurts. Dance the neon.
Here I am kind of cheating by including Vil Vallo's solo album Neon Noir, which was released in 2023. So this was obviously 6 years after him had disbanded, and I gotta say, this album is amazing. Genuinely, it's definitely significantly better than Screamworks and Tears on Tape, in my opinion. I think it's really, really good. I probably prefer it to Darklight, actually. You can tell that Vil had a lot still left to give, and he spent some time, brewing in the recording studio and coming out with absolute bangers like Runaway from the Sun, Neon Noir, Love Ledding. I personally really love Saturnine Saturnalia. It's like something taken straight out of Venus Doom. Anything that sounds like Venus Doom gets a thumbs up from me. But yeah, everything about this album is great. It's a perfect start to finish. I really hope he continues because, this is great. But if he doesn't, then, fair play. You just kind of bookended the music career with something really great. And something all his own as well. Like, I know he was the poster child of him and he was always the main guy, but this one is all him. You see it says VV, Neon Noir, and just like the him albums, you can see you've got Vil's signature chicken scratch lyrics. Well, I don't know if you call it chicken scratch. I get told that my handwriting is chicken scratch, but his is much fancier and loopier than that. Got this little sticker from the packaging. I actually bought this one new myself because it's that recent that I can actually find it new. This is such a solid album. Like, honestly, if you were a fan of him and you didn't know this existed, or you just haven't given it a proper try, really do, because it won't disappoint you. I'm really, really pleased that I got this. All right, we did it. We got to the end of my him CD collection. It's an enormous collection, the most stuff that I have for any band, despite the fact that the band was only around for 2 decades. I still have more CDs than bands that have been around for 3+, so interesting how that works out, eh? But yeah, what do you think about him? Do you have any of these cool limited edition things? Is there anything I'm missing, maybe from my collection? Do let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from like-minded individuals who love music for more than just, what you're getting on your Spotify. It's more than that to me. So that's everything for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on another video soon.